Good.
Start.
Okay, so now I start slowly. Okay, so hello. Thank you very much for your participation in our webinar today. My name is Satoshi Takayama, one of the co-founders of our company, Fenetre Partners, and also an advisor for the industrial machinery and components sector in Japan. And today we have two guest speakers and my colleague. And firstly, Mr. Peter Stabel, former managing director of Zuko Group from Germany, and Dr. Craig Draper, vice president of business development, global for the environmental risk sciences division of Smithers from the US and UK, right? Okay, and my colleague Yasushi, who is a co-founder and the managing director of our company. Then after I introduce our company, they will do their presentation. And today's topic of the webinar is strategic options for business development in Japan. And as I mentioned, we have two speakers who will share their knowledge and insights about their business development in Japan. But before we start our webinar, I'd like to let you know that at the bottom of Zoom screen, you can find question and answer panel. So during our guest speaker session or Yasushi's presentation, if you have questions, please use this question and answer panel to post your question. Then our guest speaker will answer to your question during his session or at the end of today's presentation. And if you have questions about your specific industry or your company's business in Japan, please contact us by email to reserve a separate online meeting with us. You can find my colleague Yasushi's email address in his invitation email of this webinar. It is hasegawa@fenetre.co.jp. We are happy to answer to your questions and support you for your future business in Japan. And now you see today's agenda. Firstly, introduction, then guest speaker session 1 by Mr. Peter Stabel, then guest speaker session 2 by Dr. Craig Draper, then wrap up by my colleague Yasushi Hasegawa, and question and answer. Okay, then please go to the next page. Thank you. So with this page, I'd like to introduce our company briefly. Our company, Fenetre Partners, is one of the leading consulting firms of trade, investment, and international marketing based in Tokyo. Our clients are medium to large size companies, mainly from the US and Europe. We also have many clients of overseas governmental organizations to support trade missions and foreign direct investment. The main scope of our service is market entry support to enter Japan, not only by market researches or consulting, but by implementation. The implementation means, for example, business development and lead generation, and this is our company's strengths. What we mainly do with this implementation is sales and marketing activities locally in Japan on behalf of our clients. So we work as if we are your local Japanese branch office. We currently have 32 staff and we have worked on more than 400 international projects since our company was established 15 years ago. And yes. And this page shows logos of our past and current clients. As explained earlier, we have clients mainly from European and American manufacturing companies, service companies, and also governmental organizations. Industries of our clients are mainly industrial machinery, components, automotive, pharmaceutical, and environmental, and we also have companies of consumer products. Okay, then please go to the next page. Okay, so there today's guest speaker. Okay, so firstly, Mr. Peter Stabell. And Peter-san, I think we met for the first time at our webinar in Munich or Stuttgart, right?
In Munich, it's right. It was in 2018.
That's right. That's right. Then after that, we continued discussion. Then we finally agreed to work together. And yeah, I visited your company for the training, and it's close to Stuttgart, so it was very, beautiful area. I clearly remember. So it's very nice that I could visit your company. Yeah. Then yes, and then next, Dr. Craig Draper. Hi, Craig-san. Yeah, it's been a while since we met in person, and I think we started communications between your company and our company with your colleague. And I think Yasushi visited your company in the US. And after we started to work together, I visited your company in Holgate in the UK, I think.
That's
also,
right, Harrogate in northern England, yes.
Yeah, that's right. It's also a very beautiful area. I really enjoy staying there with my colleague Koichi. Yeah. So these are two guest speakers. So firstly, I'd like to ask Peter-san to start your presentation. Then after that, after Peter-san, Craig-san, do your presentation, please. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So I just have to call it.
Yeah.
Let me see, and then I will go by this presentation.
Yeah, we can see your presentation, Peter-san.
Is it okay for everybody? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Good. So hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this webinar about Japanese markets, about success in Japan. I say good morning to those who are joining us from the United States, and hello to those from Europe, from European countries. And I gave the title to this presentation, How to Understand Special Japanese Sales Networks. You know, when I entered SUKO in October 1996, the internationalization was limited in this company to German-spoken countries or to distributors who were able to speak German. In the company, there were only a few people in 1996 being able to have a communication in English language. So the internationalization was very quickly one of my focus, one of those things I thought to develop the company. I will go into some themes like the presentation of the company of SUKO Group. I will have a brief look on the sales development by regions from 1996 to 2022. I would like to talk about SUKO's sales strategy, which was fixed mainly in 1998. I will explain this. And then I will talk about the first two steps SUKO did in Japan. And those two steps were not really successful. There were some minor success, but not really the way we wanted to go. And then I met Fenetra in Munich, and this seminar opened our eyes what is different in Japan. And we will have a look on these specific Japanese sales structures. And then we implemented a strategy together with Fenetra. We did some important steps. And finally, I will come to some conclusions, and then this will be the end of my presentation. Let me first of all talk about SUKO. SUKO ESI, SUKO Group Worldwide, is a small-sized, family-owned, typical hidden champion in its market and in its industries. It was founded in 1938. The headquarters is in Bietigheim-Bissingen, close to Stuttgart in the southern part of Munich. The owners are two families, Scheufele and Fuhrmann, 50-50. I have been managing director, commercial manager from October 1996 until December 2022, when I decided to retire, to hand over the commercial management to my successor, Jochen Kühner, who joined us in May 2022, and Mr. Marcel Kempf. He is technical director since September 2000. So that in the middle is Mr. Kempf, on the bottom that is Mr. Kühner, and I'm on the top. SUCO Group today has around 250 employees and a turnover of a little bit more than 30 million euro. The main focus is on pressure switches and pressure transmitters, as well as clutches and brakes, mainly centrifugal clutches and brakes. And so we are producing more than 2 million pressure switches and pressure transmitters. The group consists of the headquarters in Bietigheim-Bissingen in Germany, where we have all the development of and production of mechanical pressure switches, some electric pressure switches, and the clutches and brakes. Then we have acquired ESI technology in Wrexham, Wales in UK, and they are specialists in transducers and sensors. And we also have two subsidiaries. One is a joint venture in France, located in Le Mans, a 50-50 joint venture with another company. And our own subsidiary is in SUCO ESI North America in Boca Raton in Florida, United States. A short look on the locations. This is the headquarters in Germany, in Bietigheim-Bissingen. That is the location in UK. Here is our building in United States, and that is our plant in France. I will only focus on the pressure and flow division today. Centrifugal clutches and brakes is a little bit different, but we are specialists. SUCO is specialist in mechanical pressure switches, in electronical pressure switches, in pressure transmitters, and in pressure sensors, transducers. And so those products are very, very much used in any kind of hydraulic application, construction equipment, agricultural equipment, forklifts, but also medical equipment, food industry. So it's a wide range, but overall mobile hydraulics is the main markets. So when I joined the company in 1996, SUCO was mainly concentrated on German-speaking markets and European markets where they had German-speaking distributors. And you can see that more than 90% of the sales of pressure monitoring products was mainly in Germany and Europe. Asia didn't play any role at that time. United States and any other country, also a very small part. And when we started to develop the international markets, we focused first of all on Asia. And until 2010, we ran a company pool. I will come to this topic a little bit later. And you can see that there was a significant success. The direct sales to Germany dropped to 43%. Europe was still stable. The main growth was due to our efforts in Asia with a ratio of 16%. After this company pool was terminated in 2010, we established later a new one. We also concentrated on other regions, and this led to the present ratio regarding sales by regions. So you can see that Asia is still around 12% today. And I know that the management at this time is more concentrating on the United States, as we are not so happy with the 4% in United States. But you can see there was almost or really a minor part of sales success in Asia. And when we started to really concentrate on these markets, we could achieve significant success. Now, to think about a consequent internationalization led to some fundamental questions. First of all, we had to find out which one would be the right way to distribute our products, to sell our products. Of course, you have choice between direct sales, a sales representative, dealers, distributors, sole agents, joint ventures, own subsidiaries. And there are good reasons for any solution, but determined by our products' financial limits, capacity limits, especially from the management side, and more other reasons, we decided to concentrate really on sole agents, which means that we tried to establish, to appoint an exclusive distributor per country. And we were in many, many countries quite successful. So in 1998, we started, first of all, to concentrate on the Asian region. And we asked ourselves how to explore the Asian markets. We had a limits knowledge about the markets, the culture, language. There was also financial limits as a small sized company at this time, and the management capacity. And so by chance, we got an invitation for a seminar at the AHK Stuttgart and this was a seminar with an interest to found a company pool, bringing a few companies together and sharing some strengths, some advantages to explore the Asian markets, to establish a sales network in Asia. So Suko was a co-founder of this company pool who was established at the AHK Singapore. And we found a pool engineer to coordinate the interest of these companies in Asia. And we created a sales network step by step in the different Asian markets. And Suko, as I said, had focused on sole agents and used the help of this company pool. Now, when I entered Suko in 1998, we had already contacts to the Japanese market. That was step number one. In 1985, Suko got in contact with Mr. Nakagami from Allied Electronics. That was a Japanese businessman in Cologne. And at that time, and Mr. Nakagami was able to speak some German, so Suko agreed to leave the markets of Japan and Korea to him, as he presented his business contacts and globalization. It was not a key point in the head of the management at this time, so they were just happy to find someone to take care of the Japanese market. As I explained, only a few people spoke English at Suko in this time. So he used his contacts to sell time by time some pressure switches. What we found out later was that he did not really focus on Japan, but he sold also to Korea and other Asian countries. But overall, let's say this was not a real success. There was not a big business. It was a little bit stable at a low level. So we were not happy with this. And when I had established this company pool in 1998, and we were successful in some countries, it was not our main focus at the beginning to concentrate on Japan, as there was already somebody to take care of. But in 2006, I said, we are not happy with this solution. Let's take our philosophy to establish a sole agent direct in Japan, as we were successful in many countries. And so in 2006, I contacted the AHK Japan. And this project was coordinated by our pool engineer, who was located in Singapore. And the AHK of Japan, they tried to find potential distributors for us. And at the end, they had around, let's say, 10, 15 interesting distributors, which showed also their interest to represent Suko. And so I traveled to Japan together with Edwin Hoy, the pool engineer, and we visited in 1 week these 10 potential distributors, and we identified around 6, which were really interesting. And finally, we appointed Japan Flow Controls end of 2006 as sole agent. Now, for years, we tried to grow business in Japan with JFC. There was some minor success, but the huge potential of the Japanese market for pressure monitoring products could not be exploited. JFC invested at the beginning in marketing. They made a translation of our catalogs in Japan, in Japanese language, and they visited exhibitions. But as there was not really a big success and they were successful with other products, step by step, they dropped their efforts, keeping Suko more and more out of the interesting markets. Now, as commercial manager and busy with many other topics, we founded a United States company in 2007 and acquired the English company in 2009 with a full due diligence. And the company pool ended in 2010 successfully. So for 3-4 years, there was not really a focus on Japan. but at the end, 2015 around, I intensified my travel to Japan to try to support JFC and find the right doors to knock on and to become more successful. So I put a lot of efforts between 2015 and 2018. And finally, I was somehow disillusioned. Something went really wrong. In many countries, our sales strategy worked quite well. And still up today, Suco has around 60 sole agents worldwide in these different countries, which are successful. But especially India and Japan were really different. I will not go too much into India, but I will explain what happened with Japan. I've followed an invitation of Fenetre for a seminar about Japanese sales success in Munich in 2018. And Mr. Takayama and Hasegawa opened my eyes. Japan is really different from any other country in the world regarding sales networks. Typically, in the Japanese market, if you establish a sole agent, which has a direct contact to the manufacturer, he is purchasing the products and reselling to the Japanese markets, he will find some customers, some dealers, and make some business. What is very important to know in Japan is that there is a hurdle, somehow a barrier, to reach the potential key customers, the big key players for Suco, like Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, like Komatsu, Kobelco, those big construction manufacturers. Because typically in Japan, most of those key players, they have somehow a certified purchasing organization, a distributor of confidence with long-lasting relationships, and they would not easily purchase from any other organization. Now, the problem we found was that our sole agent had some minor success to some dealers and customers, but did not find a way to, let's say, get in contact with these certified purchasing organizations. That was what we found out, and especially I found out when I talked to Fenetre in 2018. And so the first step was that I accepted a certain budget for a market analysis. And after this market analysis was satisfying for us and confirmed that there was a huge potential, we entered into a cooperation agreement, which is still running today with Fenetre. So the first point, which was the most important for me, was to understand the different market approach in Japan, which today looks like this. We established somehow a Suco Japan address in the coordinating office run by Fenetre. And we waived an exclusive sales partner, but we established some non-exclusive distributors. And we got, with the help of Fenetre, in contact with some of these certified purchasing organizations. And finally, we also got quite interesting inquiries from those key players. So the market analysis was mainly to identify local and international competitors, the market prices, and we wanted answers to the questions: who are these local manufacturers of pressure monitoring products in Japan? What is their product range, and how much of this is overlapping with Suco's product? The result was around 24 acting competitors in Japan. Anyhow, that did not discourage us. We said we have perfect products which are very successful in all markets, so we will go on. And so Fenetre identified at the end these key customers, and we wanted to know what kind of pressure monitoring products do they use already, and what could be supplied by Suco replacing those competitive products. After this market analysis, we went into this cooperation and did 5 next steps. First of all, Fenetre hired a part-time manager for us with technical and commercial background. Many Japanese experienced but retired persons like to continue to work on more flexible basis. As a foreign company, it is not easy to find those persons and to hire them respecting all the social and legal aspects. So that was a first big step that Fenetre helped us to get somebody with a native language in Japan to take care of the market. Our role in this sense was to make an intensive product training. And of course, this person should join our international sales and marketing meetings, which are held every 3 years. The next step was to create this official Suko address in Japan, which was done eagerly by Fenetre, and we had to adapt this on our website. The next step was that we fixed a new sales strategy with the help of Fenetre. We did not appoint a sole agent or gave exclusivity, but we decided to make an individual approach to these projects. And that was the role of this hired person to find out which would be the right way. Would it be maybe a direct contact from the manufacturer to this certified purchasing organization? Would it be better to have somebody in between? And so step by step, we handled these projects, and I can say that was a quite successful way. So we also got support in creating a website in Japanese language, which brought us direct inquiries. We had to implement this translation in our homepage, so you can go to www.suko.de Japan, so /JA, and you will find the Japanese version. And at the end, we also were forced to take more care of Japanese-specific technical requests, by, for example, threads. And that needed some internal convincing activities, because our engineers, German engineers maybe in general, are very convinced about their techniques, their technology, and quite often the markets are ready to take those developed products and adapt them. But in Japan, you have really, and that is specific, you have really to follow these technical requests. The main role of the hired part-time manager working for Suko in the office of Fenetre was so identifying contacts, addresses of the key customers, identifying certified distributors connected to these key customers, discussing new strategies by projects for the Japanese market. He made appointments to contact these purchasing organizations or the technical organizations. He visited key customers and introduced Suko products, or he visited these certified purchasing organizations. He answered to inquiries, claims, technical questions, and he was always supported by our Asian coordination office, which is located in Singapore. And we also got a lot of translation services. My conclusion so far: sales procedures are similar in many markets, but in some markets they are really different. So you need to analyze each market, which is the best way to go. And this depends on many, many different aspects. For example, what kind of products do you sell? What is your goal? Which are the customers? What is the competitive situation? In Japan, you definitely need a continuous local support due to culture, language. For a foreign company, it is quite complicated to do this by their own. You need a native person to create confidence. You also need patience. It takes some years, many years. So we started in 2019, our activities with Fenetre. We are on a good way, but still not at the level we want to achieve. And we know there is a high potential. You need sustainable presence to create this confidence. You need to be reactive, and that is really important. The reaction time for answers, for claims, for inquiries, also lead time is a very big point in Asian markets. And also here, Germans typically feel a little bit comfortable maybe with what they do, but you need to accelerate your action, your activity, if you want to be successful in Asian markets. And you also need to accept long processes with extremely detailed requests, and quite often to answer the same questions a few times. Japanese companies want to be really sure that everything is well understood on both sides. And that means they will send you the same questions, maybe in another frame or in another type of writing a couple of times. And I think Craig has made some experience in the same way, because he is smiling. So please, you need to be patient and to accept that there is a lot of paperwork and a lot of processes. And that was also somehow, let's say, a training in our back office management, that they did not get disappointed by answering the same question 2-3 times, but they kept patience. And at the end, when the Japanese customer is convinced, then you open the door and then you can go through. These are my conclusions so far. If you like to read more about the company pool idea, you can get at Amazon Das Vertriebskompendium. This book is written by more than 70 authors about all different topics in sales and marketing. Very interesting. Unfortunately, so far only in German language. The editor looks forward to publish an English version, but as this is not available right now, I can send you on request the translation of my article in English. I have prepared this, and just send me an email if you like to get this. My email address is peterstabel5@gmail.com. So thank you very much so far for your kind attention, and I'm prepared, hopefully, to answer some questions.
Yeah, Peter-san, thank you very much. You deeply understand the Japanese industrial market, so I'm so much impressed. And yeah, we actually got several nice questions to Peter-san. So yeah, so I read some of the questions. So first question is Mr. Stabel, when you sold in Asia through a company pool, you had a share of company turnover around 16% in Asia. And to get an idea of what turnover justified you going on to partner with Fenetre, what was the approximate value of your Asia sales at that time?
Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to give precise numbers about this. I talked to the management of Suco when I told them that I would make a presentation here. And I'm sorry, I cannot give details about the total turnover. What I can tell you is, if you have read about a whole turnover of 30 million euro, and in our best times we had 16% all over Asia, you can roughly get an impression about those numbers, but unfortunately I'm not allowed to give details here. I'm very sorry.
It's okay, thank you very much. Yeah, okay, and next question is maybe you have mentioned, but who is doing the regular translation of the Japanese website? Third-party agency?
No, this was we have established this homepage in German language, of course, in English language, and in a couple of other languages. But the Japanese translation was mainly done by our part-time manager from located in Japan, because we needed somebody speaking this native language. Anyhow, we made, let's say, counter control from a Japanese living in Germany, and he read through to be sure that we got the right information. But the translation was definitely done by Mr. Kamibayashi, who is our part-time manager at Fenetre.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. And maybe one more question. Is it common for Japanese OEM buyers to prefer working through a certified distributors rather than buying directly from the manufacturer?
That is a very interesting question, which I underestimated really at the beginning, but it is definitely a question of long-lasting relationship, of big confidence, and especially those key players. They have their certified purchasing organizations, and we were surprised that this leads to higher prices, because there is 1 or 2 steps more in the sales network. But at the end, if a key customer is really satisfied with the support of his certified purchasing organization, he will rely on, and he accepts a little bit higher prices. They should be reasonable, but anyhow, they prefer to go traditional ways. I do not know why, but so far we did not sell direct to the end customer, to these key players. There was always at least this distributor of confidence in between.
So thank you very much for your answer. And we actually have more questions, but of course, time is limited. So now, maybe if we have time at the end of this webinar, maybe we might be able to answer the questions. But now I'd like to ask Craig-san to share your experience as well. Craig-san, please.
I hope you can see my screen there.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Hasegawa-san and Takayama-san, for the opportunity to provide some insight on how Smithers worked with Fenetra for our entire go-to-market strategy in Japan. And it's very interesting seeing Peter's market and the approach that Suko took. We don't have a distribution or a third-party or sales organizations in our industries, which I'm going to talk about. So ours is direct business to business. So we don't have that complexity to get in the way, if you like, of the product to the final customer. Ours is directly to our end users. With that, today I'll spend some time on how Smithers and Fenetra work together. And most of what we'll talk about are the real lessons that we being me and Smithers, have learned along the way. Primarily from our clients, but mostly from the support of Fenetra and the team there. And hopefully we'll provide some guidance and topics for consideration for companies looking to develop or maintain a sales presence in Japan. So my name is Craig Draper. I'm the Vice President of Business Development with Smithers. My goal is to provide this narrative on how Smithers and Fenetra first came together and provide some insights on why and how we came to work with Fenetra, and then what we mutually accomplish. But first, to provide some context, I'll give us some ideas about what Smithers is, Smithers business in Japan, and then how we engage with Fenetra specifically on a day-to-day basis. Just what does a day in the life look like? And then in reflection, if I was to go back 5 years, what advice would I give myself or potentially to others who are looking to do the same thing that Smithers did during our time in Japan? So who is Smithers? Smithers is a US headquartered, diversified testing, inspection, and certification, or TIC company. We have testing facilities in the US, in Europe, and in Asia. And Smithers is made up of 8 distinct divisions. And they're distinct in that each of the divisions provides different testing and different services to the different markets that they serve. We were founded in 1925, which, if you can do the math there, means that we're nearly 100 years old. We got our start in Akron, Ohio, as a rubber expert company, providing reports and testing services for tires, because Akron is the headquarters of the US tire industry. But since the 1980s, Smithers has grown, and it's added services to meet the testing needs of a diverse set of markets. And this portfolio provides a degree of mitigation to the ebbs and flows of business and spending cycles when some markets are up or the markets are down. And we hope that by having enough diversified divisions that we can withstand the ebbs and flows of business. So I represent the environmental division at Smithers, a segment with over 50 years of experience evaluating the effects of chemicals in the environment. So a little more detail on that. It's important to know that government and regulatory agencies around the world require by law that prior to being sold, that the effects of the distribution of chemicals in the environment is well understood and cataloged. Companies producing chemicals such as crop protection products, pharmaceuticals, specialty chemicals are required to provide a report to the regulatory agencies such as the US EPA, Europe's ECHA, the US FDA, on the route of how a chemical can get into the environment, where it travels to in the environment, the soil, the air, and the water, how it breaks down in the environment, and then the effects of those compounds and the breakdown products on the plants and animals in the environment. So these studies are called environmental fate, metabolism, environmental ecotoxicology, and there's also some support services called product chemistry, which help understand the fundamental nature of the chemical, such as solubility. Now, there's the test, but ultimately the data on the tests that we perform provides invaluable information on the environmental distribution and the effects of chemicals. And this helps guide product development and provides guidance to regulators, to governments, when they're assessing the impact of these chemicals on the environment. So as you might imagine, we take a lot of pride in helping to increase the amount of sound ecological risk data to help producers and regulatory agencies bring the most effective and lowest risk products that help improve the human condition, be that a crop protection product that helps increase drought tolerance, or maybe even the latest life-saving pharmaceutical. So that's what Smithers as a business does. And this is Smithers in Japan. Our clients are the world's largest global chemical, crop protection, pharmaceutical companies. And of course, Japan has a selection of those organizations domestically. We have been, out of our 50 years, we've been working with Japanese clients for around 25 of those 50, the last 25. Around 20% of our business in terms of revenue is from Japanese clients. And interestingly, around 95% of our revenue from Japanese clients is from clients within the crop protection industry. Those are companies producing herbicides and pesticides and similar products. So as I mentioned, we've been working in Japan for around 25 years. Our first contacts were through word of mouth. This was kind of pre-internet, late mid-1990s. The internet was around, but hadn't really been capitalized on, and really wasn't a tool to find out about companies. And so we started to work with Japanese companies who needed to launch their products in Europe and in North America. So they needed testing to be done to meet the needs of the US government and European organizations. In the 2000s, we continued that organic growth, again, primarily through word of mouth, but we started to initiate some travel from scientists and leadership from our headquarters in Wareham, Massachusetts, over to Japan, maybe once a year, to go and visit with our clients. And from time to time, our clients will come and visit our laboratories. Now, in the early 2010s, Smithers acquired a laboratory in Harrogate, where Satoshi-san visited. And that came along with two Japanese sales representatives. So we acquired a sales team. This is one of our first sales team in the whole of Smithers. So as you might imagine, we didn't really know what to do with a sales team, never mind a sales team many thousands of miles away and 12 hours away from our headquarters here in the US. And so after a few years, that organization was drawn down. But we did start to realize the value of having a sales organization in Japan. And through other contacts, we initially started working with a former CRO executive, a CRO being a contract research organization, it's the business that we're in, who worked for a former competitor of ours, who had set up his own business and had said that he could perform the sales and marketing activities for us. So that was really us engaging with a sales consultant in early 2012. And it went very, very well. Double-digit sales growth year on year. There were some market activities there where there was a need for extra testing that helped with that buoyancy. But also that team did a very, very important job for us. But as you might imagine, things change and we have to react to those change. Around 5 years ago, so back 2017, 2018, there were changes as a partner. The original sales leader who we worked with, they departed. And the company refocused their activities elsewhere. This was a multi-factored company. They had lots of different businesses, and they deprioritized working with Smithers. That led to declining sales, which was very, very challenging for us. We had a lot of clients, but we knew that we were being outcompeted, that there wasn't enough presence of Smithers in Japan at that time, based on the change in our sales representative strategy. So we attempted to remedy. And some of the things that we did, we increased support from the home office. So from our labs in Harrogate or our labs in Wareham, sent a lot of people over to go and visit with our clients. We actually restructured our agreement to pay the sales partner even more, hoping that that would re-incentivize them to work with Smithers, but to no avail. And we also provided additional training. But unfortunately, sales continued to decline. So we had to evaluate options. And this is where I stepped into this process. And so we had a number of options, kind of similar to what Peter mentioned earlier on. We could continue to rehabilitate our existing provider. We could engage a new provider. We could go to a hybrid, maintain the prior provider and bring on a new provider, or develop our own sales function in Japan. And these are some of the decisions that we were looking at, and we analyzed the risks and the benefit for each of these different options. As you can see here, continue to rehabilitate the existing provider, limited chance of success. We tried that, but the benefit there would have been a known entity. Very simple for us to do that. Engaging a new provider, well, who is that new provider? How do we find the provider to be a new partner? But then we knew that if we found the right provider, that performance would increase. We could go for the hybrid approach. That would be costly. We'd be paying 2 sales agencies in the region, but that would give us additional coverage. So maybe sales would explode. But likewise, we also thought about redeveloping our sales function in Japan. That would be costly. We would have to set up all those cultural and HR related functions, which we have no experience with from thousands of miles away. And that would extend the timeline, but we would have the benefit of control there. So in balance, I'm sure you know, the decision was to engage a new provider. And we had already overcome the identification of who we had a couple of companies that we were talking to. But importantly, as Satoshi-san mentioned right at the beginning, we had years before, a colleague of mine had already reached out to Fenetra and had an initial discussion about what Fenetra could offer. So we re-engaged with Fenetra, and importantly, we took a very steady approach to understanding the ideal partner. We wanted to make sure that the ideal partner could work with Smithers across several separate criteria. And this is a subsection of the criteria that we developed of what was important for a sales representative company in Japan representing Smithers. First of all, on the business side, we had existing customers. We wanted to make sure that they were nurtured and looked after, those relationships continued to develop. But also, mentioned earlier on, there were opportunities in other markets. Can we make a spearhead into those markets? So we need a hunter and a farmer type of capability. We did require the adoption of Smithers tools and approaches. In the sales organization now, we have a very strict sales cadence, approach to sales, approach to measuring and managing sales, and our partner would need to be able to fold into the Smithers process. And importantly, we were looking for a flexible long-term engagement. We made the strategic decision not to develop our own resources in Japan. And that was a big part of the initial conversation with Fenetra. They're a market entry organization. How about working with Smithers long-term? What would that look like? And so there's a lot of very useful conversations there. So with that, Fenetra Partners literally checked all of the boxes. We knew that from prior discussions with them, and also doing this when we restarted these discussions, that Fenetra had the credibility, had the experience, and importantly, understood the needs of companies like Smithers from outside Japan and could help guide us on this kind of renewed market entrance into Japan. So maybe now we kind of head into the advisory role. This is some of the things that we've learned through our relationship with Fenetra. As part of this revitalized go-to-market plan, we developed a plan. As you can tell, Smithers is very much into plans. And this is the first recommendation I can give, that in transition and any time of transition, have a plan for the transition. The plan will change, but having a plan means that you're working at a certain cadence with, importantly, goals in mind, and those goals need to be shared. So in this case, we developed a plan alongside Fenetra and, importantly, the outgoing sales agency to manage the transition and the onboarding. In this, we overinvested in the training and onboarding. In my mind, and that overinvestment was very, very well paid. It was was well designed. We invested in bringing our new team over to our labs in the US and the UK to understand and get a picture in their mind's eye about the testing that we do. What does it even look like in the laboratories? And then, but most importantly, also to meet our teams, to meet our scientists who coordinate directly with our clients in Japan, because that's the role that the sales representative will be taking, will be to insert themselves into that relationship. So meeting the people, putting a face to the name was also very, very critical. We also provided 6 months of overlap between Fenetra and the outgoing sales agency for knowledge transfer. That meant that we were paying twice, but at the same time, that was time and money very well spent. We didn't want our clients to experience the transition. The intent was for it to be as invisible as possible. And I think the investments that we and Fenetra, and importantly, the partnership that Fenetra showed with the outgoing agency, as well as with Smithers, really set the relationship and the new work paradigm off to a great start. So the title of the presentation is Nurturing Business and Expanding Sales. So let's maybe first of all look at nurturing business. This is the existing business, that 20% of the business that Smithers receives from ongoing activities in Japan. So it's the idea of first, do no harm. Make sure that your existing clients are well looked after, and relationships are the most critical aspect of working in Japan. Our Japan sales team, I don't say Fenetra here, I say our Japan sales team, that's who Fenetra is, provides expert client relationship management with multiple client touches per day. Requests from clients are transferred and in some cases translated in real time. And what this does, it gives the impression of real-time connection to our Smithers labs, which might be 9 or 14 hours away from our clients based in Tokyo. And critically, having a Smithers team member available during the working day provides a level of support that our competitors can't really match. Our competitors are based in Europe and also in North America. That's where the labs are. And having somebody local for our Japanese clients to coordinate with gives that impression of local investment, local support, that Smithers has the people and the tools that I need in order to get the testing done. I think my biggest, the guidance I would focus on the most is that the local sales representatives can bring forward the sentiment of the business with your Japanese partners. A lot of what is said isn't said. A lot of what goes unsaid is very, very important. And coming from the outside Japan, it's important to have resources, people who understand what is being said, what's really being said, and what isn't being said. So understanding the tone of our Japanese clients is absolutely critical in navigating and making a successful business relationship with our clients. So Fenetra, by being present in Tokyo, our clients are based in Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. That kind of triangle, our Fenetra representatives are absolutely there to pick up the phone, to answer emails live to our clients. And that really helps our clients understand and helps build that trust. And that's the nurturing of these ongoing business relationships. Now, expanding sales. We have a long-standing client base in the crop protection industry, but as I mentioned, we have opportunities in the specialty chemical and the pharmaceutical industries. And this is a project that started pre-COVID, and we're continuing on now after 2 years of downtime. We developed a go-to-market approach, a market development approach for accessing these untapped markets for us. So working together with Fenetra, you can see the division of labor here in the green and the blue. We identified a list of targets, created a whole set of assets with the goal of developing client meetings, first touch client meetings, so that when our clients need the testing that Smithers performs, they remember that Smithers performs that. They can do this work for global companies, and I'll give our representative in Japan a call when I need that testing to be done. So we developed, and we actually went on 2 separate client visits. We're expecting another one in August, September, October this year. And you can see here some of these slides were specific for the chemical industry. But this campaign was co-developed with Fenetra. What contacts will be needed, what those contacts will like to see, coordination of the meetings, etc. And the result so far is that we've developed 20 client visits, over 60 new contacts, 60 new relationships formed, and 10 new business opportunities identified that we are continuing to push this through. And as I mentioned, this is an ongoing market development activity. So it's somewhat on the more midterm. So great success so far. Onto the cadence and management. This is the day in the life of a non-Japanese company working with a Japanese sales organization, in this case Fenetra. And this is something which mirrors the Smithers cadence and management structure of our own sales team in North America and in Europe, with this a section of daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly events. And some of these are from the sales management side, we need to make sure are happening at that time. And others are requests from the sales team in terms of what they need for support. So on a daily basis, we get our Japanese sales team is dealing with proposal requests, live translation of client emails. Not all of our clients in Japan are really global. We do have global clients which have great English, but there are a lot of regional, smaller companies who communicate solely in Japanese. General commercial inquiries, invoicing terms, things like that, client calls and emails, and issuing quotations. So day-to-day client management. On a weekly basis, we have a call. I have a call with our sales team, and we go through the sales funnel, any support requests that they may have. Do you have everything you need to be successful? Is the question I leave that meeting every week. Monthly, this is where we get the support from Fenetra in the translation of our marketing assets that we make at our marketing headquarters here in Wareham, and those are translated and distributed by the Fenetra team to our Japanese clients. Quarterly, maybe 2-3 times a year, we have client visits from our staff in the UK and in the US. And Fenetra and the team that coordinate all of the meetings, the meeting invites, and it's a good mix of client relationship management, of meeting our existing clients, but also meeting new clients as well to get extra value out of that. And then finally, on a yearly basis, our Japanese sales team is involved in the planning of the business for the next year. Sales forecasting, they know most about our Japanese business, they're close there, but also what's going on. What are they hearing about the market in Japan? Is there more testing needed? Is there regulatory changes? So as we get to the end here, my advice to new market entrants in Japan, or advice to a younger me, is first of all to understand why you're engaging with the regional sales export organization. Do you need account management? Do you need key account management? Is it sales or is it business development? Each of these terms have different definitions. So first of all, work with your partner, or even if you have an idea, work out what type of sales function you need in the region. Be courageous and learn from your partner. Take advantage of their knowledge. That's why you're working with them, and will help, in this case, specifically navigate the unknown specifics of working in a different geography. Plan your business, plan, work together, set goals. And the goal there is so there's no misunderstandings. Everybody knows what a shared vision of success looks like. Sales requires partnership, mentoring, and importantly, resourcing. So be sure to have routine meetings. Changes can come suddenly, so the cadence of those meetings need to match the speed of the business. So adapt, so it allows you to adapt. To maximize efficiency, we've assigned a single point of contact in our laboratory, a technical contact, to work with our Japanese sales organization. That way they can get answers quickly. And that's another level of relationship building internally that helps speed up business for our Japanese clients. Maybe the most important aspect is to give your partner agency, or another way of saying it is the authority and the resources to act independently. There are 14 hours a day when we here in the US are asleep and Japan is working. So if we have to wait every time for a decision from North America, then it will slow business down. So make sure you trust your sales organization and give them the agency that they need. And that will also increase their the respect from their clients. And finally, good ideas come from everywhere. There are many more people outside your organization and inside your organization. That means there's many more good ideas outside your organization. Use your partner to improve your processes. And I'll leave with this final slide here. This is not really a sales activity, but this is how Finetra helped provide extra value to Smithers. We created an internal training for our scientists who discuss the science with the Japanese clients. And we provided some guidance to those things that we from the West don't know about interacting with Japan. How do you bow? What does san mean? When do I use it? And so in collaboration with Finetra, we created a training deck and a training program for our scientists that work with our Japanese clients, giving them some idea about what's important and importantly, what's not important for working with our Japanese clients, which again is the idea of value creation outside of the sales and utilizing the resources that are available to help improve yourself and importantly, your staff. So thank you very much for the time today. Thank you, Peter, for laying the groundwork there. It's great to see so many similarities and subtle differences in the way that our two organizations approach business in Japan. And importantly, thank you again to the folks at Finetra for the time today.
Thank you very much, Craig-san. So you also have a deep understanding about the Japanese business and also culture. So that's really impressive. And yeah, it's almost the time to finish, but we also got several nice questions for you. So maybe can you answer to some of the questions? For example, Craig-san, does Finetra team also do marketing efforts for Smithers generating leads locally and then following up with them, engaging in sales activities, or is marketing driven by Smithers from the US?
Great question. Both is the best way of answering that. We have a global marketing team that distributes marketing and promotional efforts worldwide. But at the same time, the Finetra team takes our email blasts, some of our white papers, translates those into Japanese and resends them to their clients. And also, plan we're looking at right now is moving into symposiums and scientific conferences. That'll be an opportunity for us to find new specific clients. So Finetra right now supports us in both ways. So it's a global effort, but also some regional modifications as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. And maybe one more question. It's more like a culture, business culture. How many people representing a company are optimal to visit the customer in Japan? 1 or 2, considering that the visit is together with the agent and distributor?
Yeah, we actually have a policy, but an opinion on this. We typically bring 3 people, no more than 4 from our facilities. That's usually myself and 2 members of staff, 1 from each of our different laboratories, and maybe an extra one. So because that means that there'll be 4 or 5 of us visiting our clients. We don't want to send too many people into those meetings. Sometimes there can be 30 people from our clients in the room. Other times it might be a single person. So you don't want to overload. You want to adequately resource with the experts, but you certainly don't want to come over as having too many people in the room and being a little bit overpowering. So our opinion is 3 to 4 people.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for your clear answer, Craig-san. Okay, so now Yasushi-san, maybe it's your turn, or how should we proceed? Yeah.
Okay. Actually, it's over, the end of our webinar time, but give me 2 or 3 minutes for wrapping up. Let me share my screen. Just a moment. Thank you very much, Peter-san and Craig-san. It's really impressive that you really are familiar with the Japanese business culture and the reality of the market. I'm really happy to hear you're somewhat happy with what we did for you. And I think it's a very good lesson for many of participants. This is a very famous framework to compare different market entry options. Usually, people prefer just having a local distributor or agent working on full commission base, and semi-automatically your products are sold. But of course, it's a low-risk option. However, you can't control their activities. So it's a good idea as a first step of your market entry, but sooner or later, your sales hit the ceiling, usually. On the other hand, direct investment. You have to pay at least like a $250,000 or $500,000 US for the first year, but you can get a high control because it's your subsidiary. You can control everything. So actually, there's a trade-off. However, most of our clients are small to mid-sized companies. It's not easy to make a decision over direct investment. So usually, they are thinking in between. I think that is the reality of market entry into Japan. So our offer or our recommendation is here, small risk, but you get control. You work like a firm, like us, marketing sales rep company. So in such case, actually, we charge several thousand euros per month on part-time basis, but we report everything to you. So you fully get the control of your business in Japan. So, and Tsuko and Sumitas took this option. I think this is a very smart option for mid-sized companies. And at the same time, as Craig-san mentioned, if you set up your own subsidiary, you have to spend a lot of effort for understanding different labor laws, very different accounting standards, or social insurance, everything. So probably it's not fun at all for you. So that's why many of our clients prefer to have their own staff inside our office or on outsourcing basis. So we definitely recommend this area. And in addition to that, actually, Peter-san clearly said, India and Japan is very different from other markets. But I think the reason is very different because India or emerging market is at the growing stage, while Japan is declining. Japan is a top runner of a shrinking market. For example, we are losing 500,000 population every year. It's a huge impact on our economy. So I believe your market entry strategy or business development strategy, which works very well in growing markets, usually doesn't in Japan, because the competition and economic development stage is very different. Usually, most of markets are dominated by strong players or simply oligopoly. So it's very difficult to find an agent or a local distributor working on commission base. So you have to be aware of this fact. Japan is very different in terms of culture, distribution channel structure, everything at the same time, economic development stage. Actually, Japan was here in 1970s, 80s, 90s. At the timing, many foreign companies enter Japan, or sometimes forming a joint venture. But now, the situation is very different. And when you think about your approach to Japan, you can find the traditional approach. You do market research, consulting, and you will choose either or both. Set up your own office and hire your local talent, or you try to find a distributor. But it takes a lot of time, and the report you will receive will be not based on the actual response from the market. So our approach is here, test marketing or business development and strategy planning at the same time. Of course, we do market research overview, but we don't spend a lot of time on this research. But we visit a lot of potential distributors, customers, and we also work on lead generation, with sometimes developing a Japanese website. And finally, we established a strategy and business plan together with our client based on the real response from the market. So we can done this process in the first 6 months of the contract period. And probably if you order market research or consulting to a famous firm, the cost of this approach will be 10 times bigger than professional fees. So our way is very smart, reasonable, and on the ground. That's why we have been increasing many of our clients, mainly from the US and Germany, and its neighboring countries like Switzerland, Netherlands. So this is the end of our session today. Of course, we can work on market research, business matching with your potential distributors, but our recommendation is here. We work on behalf of you on business development, because usually in many industries, you are required to have your own local staff. So we are happy to take that role. Okay. Thank you very much. This is the end of today's session, and I really appreciate Peter-san and Craig-san for sharing your deep insights and knowledge about the Japanese market with participants. And to participants, thank you very much to join our webinar. And I hope some of you guys will have a chance to work together with us in the near future. And if you have other questions, please email to me. I will enter my email address in a chat box, so I'm happy to answer to your question separately. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Have a good time. See you.
Thank you.
Peter-san, Craig-san, thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. See you. Bye.